Hey everyone, this is Charting Man Dan of ChartGuys.com. Going to be talking about Hood, the Robinhood recent IPO, the massive run-up we've seen to all-time highs, what we can look to as far as expectations from here, how I personally would be looking to trade it at this point, and a whole lot of charts. So before we get into it, just want to disclose that I don't have any position in Hood. I did day trade it a little bit today. I am a day trader more often than not, and just getting used to it, putting some feelers out, watching the bid and the ask spread, the liquidity, and how fast it moves, just familiarizing myself with this new ticker. So what is currently going on in Hood has happened many times throughout the history of this market, which is just a recent IPO being run. And when this happens, we want to have some historical examples that we're going to look at, but it's important to, in my opinion, completely separate the price action and what we're seeing happen with the fundamentals and the business. Those two things no longer have anything to do with each other at this point. Long-term, big picture, price level, and fundamentals definitely has an impact on each other. But what we're seeing right now is big money taking advantage of a high probability setup where they can use a little bit of money to run things. And that's because we don't have a ton of established positions. We don't have a bunch of market makers with huge positions and hedge funds with huge positions. This is fresh on the public markets. And yes, there is supply of shares and there's demand of shares that dictate things, but this is big money seizing the opportunity, because when you have a recent IPO, you have generally a fairly low float, a low amount of shares. Obviously that varies depending on which individual company you're looking at. But again, once big money gets it moving, it is a runaway train, so to speak. And it's very easy to move the price when there is no history to be going off of. So you wouldn't want to compare this to, say, GME or AMC or any of these Reddit names, because that was a different scenario. Those names had a very long, drawn-out history of downtrends, huge, big bearish short positions, and here we're just seeing shorts starting to come into the market over the last few days because it's such a recent IPO. And today was actually the first day that Fidelity had shares available to short Hood, and you could say that anybody that shorted Hood today was squeezed and added to the bull pressure and the bull momentum on this move. So let's look at some comparisons, then let's look at how to trade this in the short term and what to expect bigger picture. So one example is TLRY, and this example is going back to its IPO, and it took a lot longer to play out. It wasn't within the first few days. We traded around sideways for a bit, and then it just took off. It took about 3-4 weeks, and then from there we went from the low of 21, the all-time high was 34 at that point, and we ran to 300 in just a number of weeks. And I'm not suggesting that Hood is going to go 900% here, but I just want to show that this was that same exact scenario. The market cap and the fundamentals in no way had anything to do with this move. This was completely big money saying, hey, we can absolutely run this and make a killing, and then we can short it and make a killing. Because from 300, we then went down to single digits. And again, not suggesting Hood's going to give the entirety of this move back, but just want to show what has happened in the past, because big money knows how to play this game. They've been playing it for decades. They know how to run the price massively to create FOMO and squeeze shorts. They know how to nail a climax top and then have that be the top for a prolonged period of time for significant downside from that point. Let's look at Airbnb. I don't even remember how it traded, but once we got the run going, we went from the all-time high at that point, didn't run massively, 100%, but again, once the top was hit, just drive it back down again. So big money is going to make money on Hood, a lot of money on the way up, and then there will be a lot of money to be made on the way down. The faster and harder we run up, the faster and harder the fall will be, and the more opportunity that there will be for bears. So FLGC is a recent marijuana stock name. Same thing. There's your IPO, sideways, took a long time to play out, and then over the last 7 days, we're up 500%. And again, it's just the recognition of, okay, if we clear $6, there is no resistance, and we can push this name with relatively small dollar volume and just run this sucker. And that is what big money does on IPOs. So the biggest difference between Hood and these names is Hood is doing it on day 3 and 4, whereas these names took a while to trade sideways. And you could say that the big money established their positions during the sideways range, and then used capital to push things higher. Let's talk about Hood now. So Hood, massive breakout day today, and you can see the Jets really turned on when that all-time high broke. We rejected from the all-time high and 40 psychological resistance. We rejected again, just traded sideways right under it. And then as soon as that level broke, we shot up almost 5% within a few minutes. And that shows us shorts covering, and that shows us bulls buying the new all-time high. And then from that point forward, the bulls had control of the entirety of the rest of the day. So what are we looking at from here? There's a number of things that we need to realize. Number one, what will the top look like? The top will likely look like a volume climax, probably on a gap up open, and we just see, oftentimes what we'll see is a gap up open, the bulls control the first start of the day, whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and then we just dump. And we see a new low of the day, and it's very clear that's our top. The momentum has shifted. And what the big money market makers are trying to do here is obviously have everybody feel FOMO. They want everybody to buy in, and they want newer traders and newer investors. They want their mindset to be, wow, if we're running this hard and fast on day one, Hood is going to be worth $1 bajillion in 10 years from now. They want you to hold that bag. In my opinion, you want to be trading this with a short-term mindset because there will be a better entry opportunity once the top is hit, once we hit that all-time high and see that long, drawn-out pullback that so often happens with these names. I personally have seen the majority of my success as a trader, at least the big wins as a trader, jumping on hype markets and exiting before the music stops. I did it in Canadian marijuana stocks. I did it in cryptocurrency twice now, 2017 and just recently this past year. And it's worth leaving some money on the table, not trying to nail the top, but not be left holding the bag. You have to preserve that capital and lock in those gains. So just looking at TLRY as an example, this is as good of a climax top. Here's another example. Now, this isn't the all-time high, but gap up, you're running, gap up, and then that is your top. And then over the next 3 days, you drop down 50%, and then that's the highest price that you see for a very long time. And if we go back to the all-time high at 300, again, same thing. You got a gap up open, you got the gap up open, there's your volume climax. Oftentimes, the volume climax is associated with temporary tops because you have the total volume that you're seeing is a big push up from bulls and then a big push down by bears and a lot of profit taking. And that's all happening at the same time. It's the final gasping push of the bulls that are running out of momentum, and then it's the bears. And that leads to volume climaxes. So even the ones that didn't mark the complete top, it led to consolidation, those big volume spikes. And then the highest volume day was the top. And we will never see $300 again on this stock. You can mark my words on that one. So we went from 300 and then we pulled back 65% in just a few days. So watch for the volume climax, watch for the gaps, and watch from the whipsaw action with complete 180 turnarounds seemingly out of nowhere, because that is how the big money traps the unsuspecting traders and investors who don't know this game. So is that going to happen tomorrow on Hood? Can't say. We have to take it one day at a time. I doubt it. You know, the way that this is set up, I would expect the bulls are looking for more out of this, and it's not surprising at all that it's being run right now in after hours. And even in our chat room in the thread, I was saying, this looks like, they're going to want to gap this up open tomorrow to get the most bang for their buck. Because the dollar volume that you see during regular trading hours, into the end of the day, the 15-minute average volume, you're trading over $100 million every 15 minutes. I'm just looking at the 20-period average volume here. And really, it's almost 150 million. And here in after hours, we are trading 10% of that. So 10% of the dollar volume is having a more significant impact on price. Why is that? Lack of liquidity in extended hours. The market makers have shifted. You don't have as many shares on the ask, and you have people and market makers running things up by just bidding up and buying the limited shares on the ask. Think about it. If you established positions over the last 3 days, you establish a $50 million position, and your average is in the 30s. And you can spend $5 million and help this thing run in after hours. You're spending a fraction of the dollar volume of your position size to increase the value of your entire position size very significantly. So you'll see that very often where it is after hours where the bulls start to flex again, because we hit our high of the day and then we just consolidated and tightened up, and then that was it for the last hour and a half into the end of the day. And then as soon as the bell rang, bulls are ready to go again, because again, it's easier. It's easier for a little bit of dollar volume to go a long way in extended hours. So there's a number of things to be watching here. Number one, the hourly uptrend. And we can say right now that the next time we consolidate on the hourly, anything above the low of today is an hourly high or low. So I know the bulls have a ton of space to maintain an hourly uptrend. The next trade, if you're looking to get in on this trade, the next setup that I'm looking for is a back burner, a 5-minute back burner. What is that? It's first 5-minute oversold conditions when the RSI drops under 30, looking for an hourly high or low. And if you want more information on that trade setup, Google back burner chart, guys. I made a whole video about it. It's just a high probability trade. I take these trades all the time. First hourly oversold conditions after a big daily breakout, and first 5-minute oversold conditions have really high probabilities of bounces unless there is news in play. But again, I go over that trade style in more detail in that other video, but that's what I'm looking at from here. So if we gap up open tomorrow, I'm not buying that gap up open. That is terrible risk to reward for an entry, because if I buy on a gap up open and then we pull back 5%, 10%, I am now very red. Where's my stop loss go? So if we gap up open and then drop to seeing people take profit, and then we get to 5-minute oversold conditions, I'm going to be looking for 5-minute oversold conditions to mark an hourly high or low, and then for the bounce from there to try and continue the hourly uptrend. And with my style of trading, I take partial profit. So let's say we get to 5-minute oversold conditions and I make an entry, and let's say 5-minute oversold happens at $45, and then we bounce up to 47. If I sell half my position at 47, I can put my stop under the low, risk-free, and try and let the uptrend continue playing out. And if we don't see the uptrend continue playing out and we drop to a lower low, I lose $0. So I love putting myself in risk-free trades, and that's one way that I do it. If you're looking to short Hood, number one, do not short this name unless you have significant experience, because this is a short squeeze to a certain degree. We know there's not a ton of shorts out there, but again, shorts are being made available to traders for the first time over the past couple of days. There's a lot of negative sentiment around this name, whether it's due to the Reddit hype or just due to, the business model, whatever the reason. A lot of people hate on Robinhood. So a lot of people want it to go down, which is a great recipe for people shorting into a blue sky run. And again, they just get squeezed and they just help the buying pressure push the price up. So can Hood see a market cap that doesn't make any sense? Absolutely. TLR-wise market cap made no sense whatsoever. Market cap doesn't mean anything when this kind of breakout is taking place. So just separate those two things from each other. So as far as resistance levels, psychological levels, we're going to look at, we don't have any resistance to go off of. So we're going 51, 52, 53. We're just watching those nice round numbers, and like $40 acted as resistance today. We're just watching those levels as resistance. So again, blue sky breakout. It's called blue sky for a reason, because there is nothing around for miles and it can just go. So establish your trade game plans, put a stop loss on every trade. There will be a time to short this name. In my opinion, that short will probably be set up by a gap up open, but not ready to be looking short just yet. And there's also the kind of play where you can look to short and have less risk, where let's say we see a gap up open and then we pull back significantly and then we bounce. I can look to top fish this resistance level by shorting and putting my stop over here. Because if we see a new all-time high, that means the run keeps going and I want to stop out and not get trapped in a short squeeze. Stop losses on every single trade. This is the time for the bulls, and there will without a doubt be a time for the bears, but it's not yet at this point. The faster and harder we run, the bigger the percentage gains, the more hype, the more it's being talked about on CNBC, the faster the top will happen. And that's that. So very interested to see how it plays out. And again, we've watched this play out many times before on many different tickers, And you can use this as a learning experience too. If you're not comfortable trading this volatility, watch. This play, this IPO type play, will happen again and again and again over the next decade. And when you get the experience of watching how this game is played, you can capitalize on that opportunity. And that's the name of the game. This is a marathon, not a sprint. So learn from these experiences and observe and make mental notes and write your notes down and practice paper trade. These are all ways to be better prepared for the next time this happens, because again, I promise this is going to keep happening as long as markets exist. Congrats to the bulls. Walk up stop losses, take partial profit. A lot of traders don't understand that concept. They feel like they are either all in or all out. Meanwhile, you could be taking 10% profit every $3 of upside and just leave a runner position and let it keep playing out. I could say, all right, I'm going to take half profit on a gap up open tomorrow, and then I'm going to keep walking my stop loss up for the second half of my position every time we set an hourly high or low. And then when the hourly uptrend is lost, it likely means daily consolidation is shaping up, and I will exit the entirety of my position and keep those gains. Again, they are counting on people just watching this move go up and watching it pull back, just like they did in the cryptocurrency space. The amount of bag holders that were created that did not take any profit, that's what they're counting on. That's greed. That's greed that keeps you holding and hoping for more. Don't be greedy. Lock in some profit. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll reply to some YouTube comments. Have a good rest of your day, and good luck.